so we can get this recording on for Cape Summit here for the folks at Cape Summit in case they want to remediate or do something with it. So let's go ahead and record. But yes, I created this quick slide deck to gather all of our thoughts. I figured let's use just one space to take some notes. If you'd like, you don't have to use it. We can also use the chat. We can use our voices. We can use a variety of different things. I see some really friendly faces with us today. Hi, Rachel. And I see Josephine, Suzanne, hello. Who else do we have? And I see, is it Elva Fernandez and Anne, Patricia Hernandez and Hilda? Welcome, welcome. So we are using, hi, I see you in the chat. Great. So yeah, use the chat if you want, use the slide deck if you want, use unmute, get on, unmute that camera, unmute your microphone. And let's take a moment to talk a little bit about, hi, Josephine, thank you so much. I see my colleague Anthony Burek is here. Thank you, Anthony. So this jam session is on the topic of technology and distance learning, and I see the names and faces on this call that I know will contribute to the conversation. But we have a couple of prompting questions for you, and I wanted to display them the easiest way possible. So let me know if it's too blurry or if you can't really tell, from the words on the screen. But the first one is, what are the roles of blended and distance learning in your post-pandemic programming? If that is something that you can contribute to, great. A couple of different ways you can do that. If you have your cell phone device handy and you want to just take a picture or grab that QR code, it'll open on your phone and you can start a new slide with your agency name and add notes to that. You can contribute in the chat. You can start the conversation. You can unmute and start the conversation, but let's go ahead and read through some of the other questions. What resources are you using to support blended and distance learning? I see Burlington English is in the house. And so if we have others, other vendors on the line that would like to say hello, please do. The third question is, what are some considerations for successfully implementing, and of course, sustainability? And then the last one is, when it comes to technology and distance learning, there are a number of strategies, tools, and practices that have been proven successful. I'd love to hear what those are. You know us at OTAN. Oh, by the way, did I even introduce myself? I'm Netta Anasari, Technology Projects Coordinator at OTAN. And so that's one of our big topics at OTAN is technology and distance learning. My colleague Anthony Burek is here, who is actually the distance learning coordinator. So let me open the floor. Jam with me, if you will. So I will be I'm going to start picking on people only because I know our friends at Twin Rivers, Rachel, are doing amazing things. I know you are doing amazing things. So if you don't mind kind of starting the conversation, that would be wonderful.
That's sweet of you. On my site, I facilitate most of our online distance learning type stuff. I was the English department chair while we were on COVID, and now I'm TOSA. So I facilitate Burlington, Cengage, my ELT, Cambridge Online, my English lab, Canvas, started being the administrator for that. But we also use Quizlet, and I actually have a whole doc where I keep track with a table of contents for all of the online things and the codes for our teachers to use. So I think it's important, especially after just doing the EEE framework with OTAN on Canvas, that we work to make sure the resources we're using are integrated properly and, are valuable, not just used because they're new and shiny, but because the students can actually extend the use once they go home to use some EEE framework language.
Right. So if you're not familiar with the Triple E, it's a framework designed to not only engage students with those tools, but rather enhance and extend their learning. And Rachel is referring to a course that we offer that she just completed, and we were so happy to have her participating in that course. Rachel, when you talk about, some of the things that you're doing at your school, are you at 100%? Are your students all back at 100% in person? Are you still running any classes outside the
We've
physical
brought,
classroom? Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, we've brought all of our students back, but we added online. So all of the ones that were a mix are back in person, but we do have citizenship online, HSD online, one class a day, and we have ESL multiple levels, one time during the day. It's 2 days a week, 2 hours. So I'd say we have about 4 hours for each subject online a week, but we're back to the students coming between 4 to 20 hours a week for each subject.
Great, great. How often does your citizenship class meet online?
They
Is it
do two,
synchronous or asynchronous, actually?
it's a mix. So they have 2 hours of Zoom where our teacher teaches them and goes over the programs. And I used to teach it here, so I gave her all of my materials like the USA Learn site.
Nice.
And so she does that 2 hours a week, and then she gives them credit for up to 2 hours a week of asynchronous work.
Fabulous. Oh my
She
goodness.
also does our Spanish GED with the same model, 2 hours of Zoom tutoring sessions and as many hours as they want for studying GED.
That's great. That's really great. Who else on the line is doing something similar to what Rachel is talking about? How many of you are running any online classes? And are you doing that synchronously, asynchronously? Are you curious what she did mention USA Learns, and there's some other programs that are supporting other learners in different program areas. Anybody have any additional resources to share with Rachel or ask her specific questions on the resources they're using? So let's see what the chat's up to. So I see people are using OTR resources and courses, Ventures Arcade, Burlington, yep. Ellie, ESL Library, right? We've heard more and more ESL Library, formerly known as ESL Library, now Ellie. Moodle, Quizlet, Padlet, Google Classroom. Anthony, thank you for adding that information on the Triple E. Great, great. Wonderful. Ventures, yes, they do have great stuff. Yes, absolutely. So I'm curious to hear from others on this call. Remember, this is a jam session, so this was really your session to kind of talk to each other. And I'm kind of sharing with you a slide that just kind of captures some of the questions that we can talk about. And maybe you had specific questions. Maybe you came in here and you wanted to know, hey, what are you doing with your community of learners in HSE that need additional help in science or social studies? I'm just kind of giving you, ideas that we can kind of learn from each other as a group. But even if you are, doing things that have been proven successful, what does that look like? I also invite any of our vendors on the line that have any other ideas of what they've heard their product has been used and successful in certain areas. Ooh, very good question. So Rachel is asking, does anyone else utilize Edgenuity? You can use your reaction, you can get off mic. So Rachel, tell us what Edgenuity is, because maybe there's some people on the line that don't know what it is.
Yeah, Edgenuity is a LMS system that has courses mostly for HSD and GED. And generally it's sponsored by your district, paid for by the district. So our school uses it for ABE, HSD, GED, but we also occasionally use it for ESL, and then we use it for our concurrent high school students in the district to make up credits.
Great, Thank you. So does anybody else use Edgenuity at their agency?
Just us then.
Thank you, Rachel. Or something similar for recovering credits. I also heard some folks recently talk about Cyber High as a diploma and earning credits as an option that they're using as well.
Was that one out of Folsom?
Fresno, I believe.
Fresno.
Yeah.
One of the middle of the state Fs.
Right, right. So for those of you that are just joining us, we're really just kind of having conversations around what have we learned from the pandemic, right? What other systems have we put in place since then, or even during, or even prior, that have been successful along the lines of distance and blended learning? I also opened the discussion too. I'm curious, did anybody make any new purchases when it comes to tech? A lot of people have been saying that they're either upgrading their Chromebooks, they're, providing more laptops, or potentially checking them out for students if they have those blended courses. What are you doing as far as equipment is concerned? Rachel just recently shared that she was talking, there's some online options in their ESL citizenship and in their HSE and other program areas at Twin Rivers. Uh-oh, nobody wants to contribute?
I'd like to hear about the citizenship. You just mentioned that at Twin Rivers, right? That they are looking into new citizenship stuff. Is that right?
All right, Rachel, so this one's for you. So it sounded like they were using USA Learns. Do you want to talk a little bit more about USA Learns for us, Rachel?
No, I already know about USA Learns. I understood that there was a reference to other materials.
So we've been using also ESL materials in our citizenship classes. So, sites like Burlington and Ventures, they often will have things in them that relate to culture. So we do utilize regular ESL courses because we've found that our students in citizenship may not have the best ESL skills, but they want them and they don't have the time for them. They're usually working, they have lots of kids. That's why they chose to do the online courses. So we can't use Google Classroom in our district, but the teachers, some of them have chosen to use Google Classroom. So that's been a really great way for them to have one stop to go to for their resources. And then it also helps them as parents for their own children in Google Classroom to understand how it works. So it gives them technology skills, ESL skills, and they're doing the lessons on citizenship.
Great. So Patricia's asking for additional support when it comes to citizenship. So I invite the rest of the group.
Exactly.
Anybody else in the group supporting students that are enrolled in citizenship classes using different materials? We'd like to invite you to contribute and share some of those resources, either via chat, come off mic, whatever makes you comfortable. So Josephine added, is it Vivatech smart TVs for ESL classroom and laptop cards? Oh, when we were talking about technology, is that the investment you've made, Josephine? I see Anne added, I use the Odyssey-ware that Edgenuity has because I can copy the lessons and tests. So Anne, do you mind coming off mic and telling us a little bit more?
I just popped back in. I have a student that just came in, so I'm kind of like in and out here.
Yeah.
So I work at a county jail. So therefore, like Rochelle was saying that, or I think it was her that was saying that, as I said, I just kind of popped back in. Can't use Google Docs, can't use any of that. With Odyssey, where I'm able to copy, because I have some people in housing that because of their status, I can't have them come into class and I need to be able to get stuff to them. It also allows me that when the students come in, they can do their work on the program And then what they don't finish, then that copied form can go back with them to their housing. And then that way they can continue with their work. Because we're a small facility and we have one room for education, I have to streamline everything for them. So we pretty much are doing a test out session kind of thing for them for their high school diploma. And I have to have it where they can continue working on what they're working with. So they do their online stuff here, and their distance learning is actually the paperwork part that I send back with them. So I'm kind of like a reverse of what other people do due to the fact of where I am and what we're doing. And then that we have, when they come in to do work, we also have some other curriculums like ICEV and TTRS for keyboarding and Technomedia for computer skills that they come in and they can only do that here in class. And so that's kind of how we do our work.
Oh, that's really helpful. Thank you for sharing. So your students are not do not have access to devices, right? When they
No.
leave your classroom, right?
Right.
So that's why they're continuing their work via print. That's interesting.
Right. Yeah. I just had to flip flop it.
I get it. I get it. Absolutely. We
Yeah.
have to meet our learners where they are, you know.
And it's really
So
funny because when they come in, they're like, oh, can I get on Facebook? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead and try. No. They try and go to different places and things, and it's like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. And yeah. Anyway, I have to pop out. I have to go meet a student at 1:30 at the library. One of my persons who has been released and wants to continue with their high school diploma. So
oh, great.
I'm glad I got to pop in and hear some of the stuff that you guys were talking about.
And thank you. Thank you for your contributions as well. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
So, that's great. I love to hear that, you know, we're reaching learners where they are, and there are certain areas where we have to actually flip our models. And of course, that's that we understand that our learners' needs vary from student to student, let alone program to program, right? So, Larry Ann added to the chat, they use Burlington English for ESL, Aztec for ABE, HSE, and Imagine Learning Edgenuity for HSD. Students are also using Google Classroom. So Larry Ann, I was hoping you can maybe tell us a little bit more about Aztec. How has that been working for your ABE and HSE students?
Actually, it's been working great. We've had great success with Aztec. So we provided a lot of professional development for our teachers, but here at Porterville Adult School, the students who do not score a 236 or above on the CASAS reading assessment, we place in our adult basic ed program, you know, to get that help and review, especially in that reading area. And so we've had great success. I have an English teacher who's teaching that class. And so students are actually doing really well. And at a minimum of 40 hours, they're going back and post-testing. We just had one this last week that was at like a 211 and went and post-tested and was a 244.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. So I would just met with Aztec in regards to how can we capture that data in their system so we could share that as well. So we're working on doing some comparisons in regards to the student, the number of hours they're spending in Aztec to the correlation of their CASAS pre and post test scores. So, but we're having great results. Aztec has been just a great provider, you know, for not only for our staff, but for students as well. So, and it's something that's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So our students can also work at home as well. And there's a new, it's called CASAS A-Tutor. They just provided professional development to my staff this past Wednesday during their department PLC, but that is something new that we're looking at as well, that they're offering. We haven't implemented that yet, but that is something that we may be adding to our courseware as well.
So is that's separate from Aztec? It's a separate program.
It's embedded into their program, but it would be
Gotcha.
something that we would add on, and that would be that correlation, you know, to CASAS, but it's called a CASAS A-Tutor. but through
Great.
Aztec. But Aztec is just, they're great to work with, their team. They again provide a lot of professional development. And they have different foundational skills. They just have different levels. So depending on where your students, where they place on their CASAs, the scale score will determine where you're going to place them in the Aztec system.
Oh,
So
that's exciting. I
yeah,
love
we've
that.
had great results.
That's great. Now, for that student that did that big jump from 211 to 240 something, I believe you said
244.
44. Was that a in-person class? Is this an online or hybrid class? How are they doing this coursework?
Yeah, so we have both. So students can come to a 2-hour block. Really, our classes are 2 hours, 5 days a week. But right now, if students can only come once a week, we're allowing them to do that. However, we do encourage them to come every day because really they need those instructional hours or just at least that help and support from the instructor. But the students can then work from home. So we're capturing what they're doing at home as part of that distance learning hours
That's
as
awesome.
well.
That's
So they're
great.
able to do both.
That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing what's going on in Porterville, Larry Ann. We really
welcome.
appreciate you. Does anybody have any questions for Larry Ann? Her programs are always rocking and rolling, by the way, and she's one of our representatives at the COABE nationally. So thank you for joining this discussion and representing California for us.
Thank you. I actually just finished my term. So now John Warner is the Region
Yes.
6 rep and the Vice President membership is now Shaketa. But I still support and still on the back end. But yes,
Wonderful.
but thank you though.
Yes, absolutely.
It was really good to hear about Aztec because I've heard about it from teachers at my site who came from other schools. So you're saying you don't use it as much with HSD?
We do with our HSE, so that high school equivalency, because there's GED prep in there as well.
Okay.
So it's great for the GED and for the for for Spanish GED as well. So we use it for that HSE. We use it a lot.
Oh, so they do offer a Spanish portion. Oh, really nice. Yes.
Well, somebody said, do you have a Spanish GED in your school? We do. Yeah.
So you have
a
so you're offering Spanish GED. It's not necessarily the curriculum is not through Aztec, for example.
Aztec does offer, so they provide a lot of resources for our, we offer HiSET here at Porterville Adult School, and they do provide a lot of resources for us through Aztec.
Great.
Yeah, no, I cannot say enough great things about Aztec. We've seen great results.
That's wonderful. I'm glad to hear it. That's great. We love to hear about different vendors throughout what our state is using, in different program areas, because we want to know how we can be able to support them at OTAN, but at Cape TAP, at all of the other state leadership projects that support. So I'm glad to hear that they're also making these additional enhancements to help kind of with the tutoring piece with the one-on-one and adding these enhancements. So that's really helpful, especially now that we're seeing such big jumps with gains. Are we still calling them gains? I don't know. I'm from the CASAS back in the day. So does anybody have any other questions for Larry Ann?
Carlos asked in the chat question for Larry Ann about Spanish GED or other software programs. And I was wondering, do you use it for ESL at all or only for HSE?
Yeah, so we don't use the Aztec for our ESL. We use Burlington English, and I see our Burlington English folks are on, and they are a great partner and resource as well. We do a lot of professional development for that. But for our ESL programs, we use Burlington English. That's really our what we use for our online curriculum for that. So Aztec we use again for our adult basic ed, our adult secondary ed, our high school diploma, we use Edgenuity, and of course our district curriculum as well. And then we use the applied digital skills is also embedded in that. And then we do have some workforce curriculum that we use in our adult basic ed, which I recommend. That's through, I'm trying to think who that's through. Those we use as consumable books, and that's really helped in that adult basic ed and our high school diploma classes as well is that oh gosh, I don't have it in front of me, but it's workplace, work-based learning. And it's in reading and locating. And I believe there's one other subject that we use. And then what other thing did I have on there? I think that's it. I mentioned the Imagine Edgenuity, which is the Edgenuity. They changed their name now. So
Gotcha. So you talked about your HSE group or your ABE group being able to walk in or come in 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. Is that across the board for all program areas? Are there additional online options in any ESL classes, or not sure if you offer any CTE courses?
yeah, we do. We yes, so we have block style classes. So we have an 8:05 to 10:05 block, and then we have a 10:15 to 12, just a little after 12 block, and then we have a 1 to 3 Monday through Friday. We do know that sometimes students can't come every single day. So we have a contract that they'll complete with their teacher, letting them know when they can come and that. But we do want to make sure they're getting their instructional hours, and that again is for that post-testing through CASAS. But we do, all of our students can also work at home through distance learning. Through Imagine Edgenuity, they now have a tutor. It's an add-on when you purchase. And so when individuals are at home and they're not in class in the evening or even on the weekends, they can click on that. There's a button they can click on, they can get live help to be able to help them through their courses. So that is something that we purchased this year to really help those students who were struggling getting through those online programs, just to make sure that they're successful, so that they have an actual instructor while they're here, but then they also have that available while they are at home as well through that program. Our CTE programs, we have nurse assistant, medical assistant, and surgical tech, and all those classes are on site. But all of our teachers use Google Classroom, and so they do have their students, especially like even in our ESL, all the co-ops, some of the students will submit those through Google Classroom, and we're really trying to make sure that our students are getting those applied digital skills throughout all their curriculum as well. So all of our teachers are going through SAMR training, and we're making sure that, you know, our teachers are have the skills they need too, so they can make sure their students are successful with this online learning.
Great. SAMR, can you explain to the folks what SAMR is? A framework.
It is. It stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, redefinition, and it's really so our district hired a coordinator of instructional technology, and her name is Denise Douglas. And so she works very closely with our instructors in really showing them what that means, you know, taking them from redefinition all the way to that, let's see, the acronym now, the redefinition, all the way to redefinition, so they can, and what that really means and what that looks like in the classroom. So she really works with them and gets them through that SAMR. So all of our teachers, again, are working with our district's coordinator of instructional technology. She's providing a lot of coaching to our teachers. So we have early release every Wednesday. And so from 2 o'clock until the end of the teacher's contract, they're working their department PLCs, but then they also have Tech Cafe that's available to them once a week that they can go to outside of that and really get those assistance with those tech skills. And that's can be individualized. And then she'll come here on site and work with them directly in their classroom to really make sure that, hey, instead of doing it this way, let's do it this, you know, and really working with them. And she's great.
Individualized coaching, I see, kind of providing it for each. That's amazing. And so this is through your district. They're actually giving her time to adult ed, and you're utilizing. Oh, that's wonderful. I love to hear districts supporting their adult schools the way that Porterville is doing. That's great.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back to an original question that Patricia asked earlier. So I wonder if we can hear, if you're offering citizenship, what are some of the things that you are using in citizenship, Larianne, if you don't mind me asking?
For citizenship,
Mm-hmm.
prep?
Yeah,
So as far as curriculum or just,
yes.
we're using a combination. We use the USCIS, website for a lot of tools. And then the teachers have, can't remember the name of the curriculum they're using for that. We also work very closely with immigrant integration services and the Fresno office. All of our ESL classes basically have that embedded in, as well as their co-ops. We do have, and I see in the chat, yes, USCIS has great resources, and they do. We also, the co-ops also help determine kind of where that curriculum and kind of how that's going to go as well. One of our IET programs we're doing right now is our introduction to food service. And so we have a combination of students in that. Some of those may even be students in that, getting their citizenship as well. But it just depends on what co-ops are selected to each program year or each semester.
That's great.
We also use Standout. So all of our classrooms have Standout. I forgot to mention that, besides the Burlington English, which has, again, a lot of great resources for instructors and really helping not only align with the co-ops and the work that they're doing in the classroom, but both of those between Burlington English, Standout, and then the curriculum that they're using for citizenship prep, which again is all the resources from the USCIS, and then there's the citizenship toolkits that are sent to the school.
That's great. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. And I see some ads on USCIS. So I'm glad we were able to kind of help you gain some more resources, Patricia, to help support your citizenship learners. I wanted to go back to that Google Classroom discussion for just a quick minute. So I hear Google Classroom is still kind of our tool, huh? Is that,
I don't personally use it. I just know that some teachers have found it to be useful, especially for groups that have a lot of parents with young children.
Yeah, no, it seems to be a tool that folks are deciding to stick with because of the reason that they have young children enrolled in schools and they're using Google Classroom. So I'm just curious kind of around that LMS discussion. Is there, specific LMS usage beyond Google Classroom that either at Porterville or in Twin Rivers that you might be discussing and implementing additional LMSs? Learning management systems.
We don't really use Google Classroom as an LMS. We just, the teachers can choose to use it as a place to store resources. They rarely have students turning things in on it. It's usually more for the flipped classroom of here's videos to watch from home, here's the links I mentioned in class, and less turning things in. We are transitioning to Canvas, but I know some of the teachers who've been around longer and know Google Classroom really well are reluctant. But I mean, I don't know about everyone else, but any type of technology you have where they're doing learning, Burlington, ESL library, we use multiple LMS systems, and it can be difficult to get them all to use the same one. So we have one place where all the grades go, and because we don't grade them, it's how do you assess them has been an issue that we've tried to work on.
Yeah. Does anybody share kind of what others have been sharing with us, some of those pieces on training and LMS usage, Google Classroom? Anybody else on the call might be experiencing something similar? What they've done to overcome some of those challenges, or have you discussed those successes, and share with us kind of what you're using? Are you using an LMS? Are you using Google Classroom? I see Schoology. Okay, very nice. So your learner population that you use Schoology with, who is that? Is that your ESL, or is that all program areas? And if you don't mind coming off, unmuting and sharing with us for a little bit, that'd be great. You can also share in the chat, no problem. Okay, great. With high school diploma. Wonderful. So, so I imagine, so with Schoology, are you getting support from the folks at Schoology with training? How does training your teachers look? Are they invested in it? Are they in-person online teachers? Are they also working with that? Okay, Suzanne, thank you for being here. Oh, okay. One teacher. Nice. I love it. Doing great work. That's really great. Are you at a small school? Is that why? Ah, got it. I see. I totally understand that. Some of our small schools operate with one person that's teaching all the courses. So we totally understand and we greatly appreciate the work that you do, holding all of that on your shoulders. That is great work. So how about some other folks on the line? Let's hear from, I know Carlos, you don't have a mic, so is anybody else here that's willing to share some of the things that they're doing with blended and distance or even tech? I know that Josephine added a little while ago about our investment and upgrades with tech. I saw that come through a bit ago. Laptops, I believe, TVs. Anybody else have anything to share? I see we have a Lisa, we have an Anna, Sophia.
Netta, if I could, I'm also curious to know, maybe as kind of a corollary to your question, you know, I'd be curious to know, like, what is actually happening at your schools in terms of the direction. You know, is the direction to keep the online, and somehow integrate it with the in-person? Is the direction towards blended learning? Is the direction actually back to 100% in-person and no online, no hybrid, no anything? So if folks want to share kind of what's going on at their schools, that would be great. I mean, OTAN is always looking for that information. We'd love to know sort of the direction that the field is going. And then along those lines too, OTAN does a ton of training, as many of you know, hopefully by now. We always want to know, like, what is it that we can help support you with? Like, if your teachers are struggling, like figuring out how to, integrate online and in person to blend, to create a hybrid situation, like what are the training needs in the field? What are the ways that OTAN can support y'all? Because we're also too, I mean, we want to make sure that we don't want to lose well, maybe I'll speak for myself. We don't want to lose all of the online learning and training and teaching and know-how that we've gathered the last couple of years. It's really valuable stuff, and we want to keep our students connected to the school and engaged. So, but how can OTAN and the other state leadership projects support you? So talking about CASAS and CalPro as well. And in the chat, we have always used online and in-person concurrently as our students travel a long distance to get to our school. Great, okay.
Where is your school located, if you don't mind us asking?
In-person, blended sync, HyFlex, blended async. Yeah, we'd love to hear how the HyFlex is going as well.
Niels, where is that?
O'Neill's. Ooh, intriguing.
Yeah, I don't quite know where
Rachel
that is.
guessed Lassen County. Is it up north or down south or in the middle, or is everybody Googling where's O'Neill, California?
That's funny. So Josephine, you shared in-person, blended, synchronous, HyFlex. Is that what you're currently moving towards?
And Josephine, very painfully for HyFlex. Share your pain, Josephine. Let it all out. It's a safe space.
I think basically it's dealing with the tech stuff, because it's not, you have your students who are in class and they have their students online, and sometimes they have to devote more time to the online people, and the in-person students start complaining that they're, that things are going too slow. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. So, we're learning a lot. We're going through accreditation in March. So we're also trying to get a lot of data from what's going on.
That's great. Are you getting WASC accredited, Josephine?
Yeah, March. We're going through the process right now, writing our reports and stuff. So that's why we're really crazy.
Yeah, as painful as a WASC is, it is an eye opener to a lot of that data for sure. It starts kind of digging deep into, the potential one may have with some of that data. So
if you do WASC right, it can also really help staff be collaborative on these type of things and hopefully continue it.
I want to go back to what
3 times.
I wanted to go back to what Josephine was talking about HyFlex, because I had made a pitch, to my school. I'm from Santa Monica, to do HyFlex because I had students who were not going to be able to come back to the classroom. I lost that pitch. But the interesting thing is what Josephine is saying is how difficult it is to get, where you have your in-class students and to be able to make it good for everybody, right? Because you're saying that for the in-class students, they're saying it goes too slow because you're spending a lot of time with the online students. Is that right?
Yes, I think that's what, but the teachers are becoming more, they're actually improving that skill of trying to juggle, let's say, like the stuff that's going on and the collaboration between the online and excuse me, and the students in the classroom. And they read to each other. There's
but that's beautiful. That's wonderful. Yeah.
But it's hard. It's
really
hard. And
well, but I think that in theory, see, it makes so much sense because we have students, who have a sick child and they would need to stay home. And at least if they were able to, they could get online and join the class, even though it was in person, do a HyFlex. Do you know what I mean? Just seems to me that it makes theoretical sense. That's all. But yes, I think it's a challenge. Yeah.
A question for Josephine about doing teaching online with students at the same time as in person. We purchased OWLs and our goal was that the majority of our teachers would be teaching in class with students being able to be at home. And because of district contracts for teachers, they had to choose to opt into that. And even our really tech savvy teachers who were eager about the technology didn't want to do it because of the work it takes to manage 2 separate groups and assigning it. So I'm just wondering how you got buy-in, or if it was more of a district or the school said you are doing this.
It took a lot of effort, and we had to use the most experienced teachers to do it. Our high school program used it very extensively because they really lost a lot of their in-person students.
right.
So their in-person group is so much smaller than their online group. In our case, it's a little different. And we decided to use our afternoon classes because those were the lowest. That's the longest. It's taking them very long to recover in terms of numbers. So you'd have, we'd have all these teachers who were teaching huge classes before the pandemic, and we've had to reschedule everything. And we had the ones who were most experienced and willing to take the chance to do this, the HyFlex, they tried it. It was very difficult, and it took a lot of time for them to buy in. And I understand, because when there's subbing that has to be done, if any of those teachers are absent or whatever, I have to take over. As lead teacher, I have to take over some of those classes, and the TOSA does too. So it's not easy.
Josephine,
But-
what agency are you from?
Amani.
Yeah, I'm TOSA at my site and I've had to do a lot of subbing, but I'm also the only one who has successfully used the OWL.
And they're more comfortable with that now. It took a long time. I don't think ours is an OWL, but I forget right now what our cameras are. I know that they just follow you when you're moving around, and we use it to be able to have, to see the whole class. So the people online are able to see the whole class, all their classmates, and then they're also able to, because with the Zoom, their in-person classmates are able to see them and what they look like.
Yeah, ours does the same. My concern is that we have over 250 students waiting to be enrolled. And normally we do continuous enrollment and we are not able to open enrollment maybe until next year, we think. And it would be great to be able to have more students on the class.
We have so
Multiple
many
trainings, but
and our morning classes and our evening classes, the lower levels are full. We have
Same.
wait lists. It's just, I don't know what to do, but we can't find teachers. We advertise for teachers through, I forget that online, forgive me, my brain's it's getting old and it's leaking.
LinkedIn and EdJoin.
It's leaking slowly. That's why I'm retiring at the end of this school year.
Aw.
But where was I now?
But yeah, it's been hard
But
for
we
us to find
can't,
teachers as
We
well.
put it through. We put it through that online application thing, and all we got after I don't know how many months was 2 people. And see, this whole thing that's going on is we also have the city of El Monte, the schools, the elementary schools asking for us to have classes at the elementary school for the parents. So we opened 6 of them, and we're also trying, they want us to help them develop the digital literacy skills of the parents, integrate social emotional learning. I mean, I have to look at all these things because, but yep, we opened 6 classes, and I think we're gonna bring our PC cards so that they can, all those parents that we have there can learn the digital skills that they need and that their children have.
Great.
Yeah.
Satellite schools are so great for the community.
They really are. Yeah.
So the OWL is you guys can answer that if you know more about it than me. I don't know.
Go for it. Yeah.
Just like Josephine said, it follows you around while you teach, and it has different views. You can have them see the whole class as a wide lens, only the speaker. And then usually you have a TV screen or a smart board that shows the Zoom class for the students if they are the speaker. And so it's just a camera with a speaker that connects to whatever format you're using, like Zoom.
So it gives an opportunity for
thanks,
students that
Anthony.
are in the physical classroom to interact with students that are offline, or rather not in the physical classroom. So you're able to teach both students.
We found it really useful also for WASC because the committee was virtual.
Mm.
So I gathered the students and I had them sit around the room with the OWL in the front, and it was able to go to the person speaking to them directly. And then on the smart board, I had the council, council members, the WASC committee, there we go, that was asking questions on the screen. So they could see them speaking, and then we had translators in the room so that they could see the people speaking on the screen translate to the students. Students spoke, they would translate it and speak, and the OWL would pick them up for them. So it's useful for meetings and things like that too.
Yes, we actually have run a couple of PD opportunities out of OTAN, and we've used the OWL camera for several of those offerings as well. We actually did also purchase swivel cameras, so I don't know if that's another term that people are hearing. Swivel cameras have been around for a really long time. I attended a couple of sessions with a teacher that teaches special ed students, and swivel cameras at that time would help with certain disabilities reach students. And so it was interesting to see them continue through the pandemic. But those are other options as well. And I'm sure there are more, but owls seem to be what adult ed has been investing in the most.
Netta, can I do a quick share?
Yeah.
Just to show people some of our recorded sessions. Let me just show you. So in the spring, our DLAC teams, our Digital Leadership Academy teams, that's a 2-year project that we run out of OTAN. We did a hybrid final presentation with them. So I'm going to play this part of the video, but if you see the 2 teachers here in front, Janet and Melissa, and then right in front of Janet's face or under her face is the OWL camera. And then to the kind of left of it is what is showing up on the screen. So you can present your content, from a book, whatever your content is, but then you have this OWL camera running simultaneously. So that would capture whoever is online. They would then show up on the screen. So let me just give you a little snippet here so you can see.
Dr. Porter's team building sessions. Knowing each other's strength has helped us to be a better team. So thank you, Dr. Porter. My top strength is.
So as Janet was speaking, the OWL, which is a 360 camera and mic, you might have noticed that it was being mirrored in this little upper window to the left of Janet's head. And so that's what would show up. So when you're physically in the classroom and you're using the OWL camera in your classroom, you can present your content via Zoom, like they have their PowerPoint slides, but then the camera will pick up what's going, so that can be shared with your folks online. And then it's a microphone too, so when your online folks are speaking, their voices will come out through the microphone into the room. So that's sort of how what the OWL setup is there. But as Netta said, yeah, a lot of us are looking into owls, and we've been trying to use them more and more at OTAN for our PD trainings, and if we're going to go on site and all that kind of stuff. So.
Great. Any other questions? We have about 2 more minutes before we close the room. Any questions for anybody that shared today? I see Josephine added what they're using, Polyvision cameras. Oh, great. So they're getting some retired teachers back to teach at the elementary schools. That's great. Some of them are tech savvy, and those that are willing to train use laptop carts effectively. Great. Great. That's great. Any other comments, questions?
I was just gonna say, in addition to more technology, we've also actually been using more books because we've become aware of the students that do not have regular access to internet, or we have some unhoused students who will say, I don't want to take a laptop because I'm afraid it will be stolen. So I made the guide so that they could follow along more easily, because they're like, we need more book work, we need more structure to it. So I think anytime you give them a structure they can use outside of school, then it's a good program, whether tech or old fashioned.
Yeah, distance learning has been around forever, and it didn't have anything to do with tech when it was happening, right? So
can I just Netta, could I just piggyback on Rachel's comment there for a sec? So I think, moving forward, for all of us at our schools, I think these are really important questions to ask, like our vendor friends, right? So we know about the books, right? But what is the combination of book plus digital content? Does that come in a package that we can purchase, so that, to Rachel's point, right? So folks who need books and print and we can provide that in the classroom or for homework or whatever, but then the digital content directly supports, the content that's being taught in the classroom. So it's not like you're having to hunt around for like 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 different things. Like, look and see like what are the packages that these vendors are offering, and see if that's kind of a worthwhile investment. If you're gonna keep the books, like what else do you get with the books that can be used for the online plus the in-person plus the synchronous plus the asynchronous HyFlex ... So
Yeah, student
Right.
book plus workbook plus student online stuff plus teacher
Right.
presentation school plus LMS system. Those are great. We have a few of those that we use.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. We're at 2:01, so we will close this down. Our next set of sessions begin at 2:30, I believe. Let me just confirm that. Is that right, Anthony? Yep. Okay. We'll see you all at 2:30. Take a good long break and stretch, and then we'll see you at the next set of sessions. Bye-bye.